you have got options to get those picks, as you said. And it means for me, a lot of this game is going to be around vision control. Because face checking an Ari is a death sentence. Face checking a Thresh is literally a death sentence. Yes, yeah, no. At the moment I said it, I was like, wait, there's a Thresh on the other side. But I have to, like, unfortunately, I have got to go there. So yeah, that's my bad. That was actually not even deliberate for once. I'm normally right on point with just throwing awful puns out and considering it content, but this time it was not deliberate. I'm just like
accidental puns are the best kinds of puns.
They are. Thank you. See, again with these, you're making me feel good about the way I do League of Legends casting. So this is great. But very, what's the word? Affirming. There's the word I'm looking for. Is CGA kind of looking for a bit of a late invade. Nema with an unusual route through will find the ward. Recap will be spotted, but not gonna have too much.
Yeah, and this yellow trinket really good at spotting early pathing. So whether or not Hachimecha starts top or bot side, this ward comes in late enough that if he opts into a 4-camp clear, he should get spotted by that trinket, which is really big because Jarvan is one of those junglers who can take race early on. If you really wants to get that full clear going or a 4-camp going, he can do so. So nice little ward coming in from Nema.
I see you're of the old school League of Legends variety where it still wraiths to you no matter what happens. As a little bit of an early bush start here from Rascal Jester, of course, with the ward placed down early by the Raptors. It did give Salt and Secret the ability to step further forward into the lane to try and contest the wave. And that does probably mean that they can force the level 2, they can force the shove, and they can kind of try and keep that pressure on, especially with Hachimecha pathing towards his bot side. Whereas, interestingly, Kassin has started on his blue buff and will likely be pathing towards the top side, which is not necessarily what we expect out of the way this team plays, but they could instead look towards a mid lane gank, even if the top lane is perhaps not quite as viable, as trades definitely coming through in mid as well, with both corrupting pots and already down to solo charge there for Recap, who's taken some early trades and some bad Dark Sphere damage, I suspect.
Yeah, I mean, the Syndra level 2, I mean, Scatter the Weak obviously being such an important tool for picking off, and we see Kaito actually using that shove there to get an additional ward on the Wraith. So once again, Hachimecha most likely going to be picked up in this vision. Doesn't look like he was shown. He actually managed to path through Fog of War there, so not warding deep enough there to pick off Hachimecha on that red buff clear, but it means they will see that he hasn't cleared Wraiths, so a bit of jungle knowledge there for the team. And yes, Syndra, incredible early lane bully, especially once Lost Chapter gets picked up. Going to try and keep his lane threat up as much as possible, and definitely a lane you can try and look towards if you want some early kills.
Hachimecha, though, has claimed red buff and can now look for the early gank. There's no option of something like a dark passage to get him in, of course, because Nemo's got the Thresh on the other side. But we'll decide there's not going to really be an option there. Just coming around to see whether there's any sense of a potential gank coming through. Of course, they got their own early ward over by the Gromps. They knew what was going on. It'll just be the scuttle grab take. And maybe a look into mid lane might be an option here before Hachimecha rotates back around to secure his Raptors and then on to Krugs.
Hachimecha appreciating that topside start just to avoid finding that Lee Sin in the early game. I think navigating away from that can be really crucial to making sure you get that nice, easy clear and maybe look for a gank on the other side of the map. So I'm sure he's sitting happy. He will finally get spotted out by that red side ward on Wraiths. So not only will Kaito and the rest of this team know what camps he's cleared, they'll also know he's there, and they should know his timers on his continual clear. So hopefully they'll be keeping that in mind.
They will. Time to see whether they can make any use of it, though. It's a very different thing to not have the information. You've got to do something with it, however. So eyes on that, eyes on some of those resets. But there's another ward onto the Gromp. It is a go-to ward at the minute for junglers to try and just track what's going on, because Gromp is so much experience. You don't really want to skip it where you can. It does help, particularly in these early parts of the game where reset timers on camps are still pretty synchronized, and there's no shenanigans that have led to desync jungle spawn timers and the rest of it. So that will give some information. Actually, there's an on the way ping there, which suggests maybe there's some madness that might be coming towards that Gromp at some point. But with Kassin on his own, he might instead look towards this bot side, as Hachimecha will now be on vision.
They're looking for the lane gank. Remember, Lantern available, so it's all on Nema to land this hook. Shows on vision as the minion creeps forward.
Oh, that single minion screws the lane gank. That's very frustrating. And you could see what they were trying to do. I appreciate the attempt, but one single minion providing vision just about over the Lee Sin.
Even through that though, as Nema came in on the early reset to get vision around this Drake as well as facilitate Kaito in this early pressure, they could look towards this first Drake as no vision is yet to be placed around it by Rascal Jester. And Kaito, so much wave pressure, seeing repeatedly shut these waves in and make sure that vision is for the side of CGA at the moment.
They do not right now. It is still a very quiet early game. We're looking at pretty much tied gold. I think there's probably less than 100 in between it, or perhaps just about 100 as it stands. Hachimecha, though, could maybe look for a dive down bot side, but I think he would be a little bit bold. Instead, we'll decide with that control wall down that the best option here is to go for this early dragon. Still a couple minutes until something like the Herald spawns. No camps up and spawned yet either. So recap with the level 6 will come down, offer a bit of support. Sin will be around. So maybe we might actually end up with the contestants Nemo and Hybrid now coming up. Gonna be too late to contest for the dragon. But can Rascal Jesters escape? Hachimecha has to flash because there's no flag and drag available.
Absolutely. Looks really scary there for a second as Rascal Jester. I mean, Kaito was on that flank, but was unable to find the Scatter the Weak or any other kind of tool to pick off. So yeah, first straight given over to Rascal Jester. Infernal 2, which is not only a fairly easy dragon to take early, but also gonna stat those pats quite nicely for this early game. And yeah, wondering what CJ will have in response, because now...
not to call you out. But was that? Did you just say the phrase "stad my pats" rather than "pad my stats"?
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
Oh no! I'm a professional here,
is this a meme I've missed, or was that a deliberate switching of the word? I appreciate it. I'm going to use that.
That was completely accidental.
Okay. Ooh, nice idea there with the abyssal dive. But again, if you're abyssal diving off vision, there is no indicator, so the frog literally comes out of nowhere. It's just a surprise frog, which
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there it is. I had to. So obviously with spectator, we see the indicator, but you don't with your off vision, which is why you see Tom Hedges playing through the bushes all the time. I found that out the other day as well. Gulborg did explain it to me. Thank you, dear Mickle. As a death sentence does land there, and a bit of damage turned around there onto Secret. Of course, does have the thick skin there to be able to heal up at least some of that, but they're going for a reset anyway, so aren't super worried about taking that damage there right now.
What's your take on Kench support? Because I've heard some differing opinions on it. I don't know how to feel about it personally. You might not get it.
I have seen horrifying things that champion has done. If you are good at being aggressive on him, because you don't get to play him defensive anymore. It's basically what the impression I've been getting, and maybe we have got a little bit of time to have this conversation, because Secret, of course, was a big Kench player last year. That was a very different style before the reworks and stuff came through. But basically, it's how good are you at using Abyssal Dive? So Keria over in T1, incredibly good at it. If you want to look at it more ELL level, Duel for someone like Bifrost, for example, very, very good at using it. But the point is, you dive in, you knock multiple people up, you do a lot of damage. It's a long-range engage. It can be off vision. You can then start using things like the Tongue Lash to try and get not big amounts of damage through that. The slows come through, then you get the Devourer after. You've actually got quite a lot of burst. And if you've got an AD carry that can follow up, so you Abyssal Dive into Flame Chompers, into Devourer, and that's a very dead carry, and then you've got defensiveness on top of it. And we've also got a Herald starting, so never mind.
The flash hook
Kench.
immediately.
Flash hook did come through immediately. It's already first blood onto Nap. The Herald secured as well. And now maybe a turnaround can come through, but there's just nothing there in CGA. Get the Herald. We'll get out. We'll get the kill. We'll see whether they get something off the Super Mega Death Rocket. Assault gets that one this time. Flash for recap. Won't quite land the chopper. They'll get a kill afterwards. And suddenly, for what seemed a pretty clean Herald for CGA, they get punished at the back end of it. What a rocket.
2-for-1 in exchange for that Herald there, which means that even though this Herald comes in, they're actually going to push in these turrets. And we see it play out here. I think CJ, you see this flash flare immediately from Nema, so quick on the response to make sure that he knows immediately he's going to combo that in. And it is right when Eno gets Mega Null, but they know they have the number advantage to find that pickup point. And even with the ulti coming through, the damage isn't there. But the big thing is here, look at Nema's HP, very, very, very low. And Soul is holding that timer to make sure that in the choke point where the AoE is going to come in, and Nema can't path away from it quick enough. Super Mega Death Rocket, and that leads to the one kill. Now their numbers down, no support in there, so Recap's free to flash forward onto Kaito and pick up a second kill.
I'll say that was a pretty high-risk move from Rascal Jesters, because Sol is late to the fight. He is not bot lane pushing for those turret plates. It's not like he's even going to trade down there. If you don't get those kills, Sol has wasted time. You've got the kill, you've got the Herald for CGA, and you haven't traded it for anything, which is very unusual. So that would have been a really big win for Rascal Jesters, but they do, sorry, not for Rascal Jesters, for CGA, but they do, to the Jesters, manage to get something up the back of it, force some trades, force some flashes, and that's a better state. The Herald gets summoned early in topside. Sol and Secret here to try and defend. I think they're not going to get too much from that. As Kaito's coming up as well. Not going to find too much more. Moonlight Vigil sidestepped. So instead, it'll just be the 2 plates. And that will be the end of that shove. But the plates do go into Hybrid's back pocket. He's got the Cullen inventory as well. Another Aphelios who's gone that today after Honey did it in game 1. That's not necessarily a good sign. Getting gold over on a Hybrid, at least, of course, Sol did pick up the kills. And there's the Abyssal Dive. Going to try and block off the Dark Passage. Hatchimecha's here. And Sol did take a big hit. Decides to throw the heal there. Was a bit worried about some more damage coming out from somewhere, and that'll be the summoner down.
It was interesting to see the hill burn, and that does mean, yeah, that Ashley, RJ's bot lane largely missing in summoners at the moment. Kassin's finding the fight.
Oh, okay. Does miss the Sonic Wave there? I think he was expecting a sidestep there.
Yep.
Doesn't land it, and that does mean Secret doesn't get hit up by the Lee Sin, and we're left with a bit of a reset again. It's about 1,000 gold, interestingly, to Rascal Jesters, even with the plates coming through as a Super Mega Death Rocket comes sailing by. I wasn't expecting that. Oh, my days.
I think so. That's why.
Hybrid. He was trying to get the reset. That was nearly really big brain. Suddenly, it all makes sense. Sol, with some very nearly well-played double rockets in a row there, won't quite make it happen. He's also got a Cullen inventory, by the way. I'd missed that. He's nearly cashed that one in as well. So both AD carries will be looking to stack that at very similar speeds. And nice plays coming through from this formerly greatest AD carry in the LJL. He's been contested a bit this year, but I'm liking to see the big brain plays coming through from the Jester's AD carry, and we've got ourselves a Dragonfly Oak. What can Kaido do on a flank here? And that's just a steal from Cassin. Megador comes through, though, and that'll just be a kill out of the jungle, make it 2. Ari picks that one up. Now going to have some resets. Double Spirit Rush available. Nap going to try and get something in the back with the needle weapon. Won't be able to find it. There is an unleashed power for Kaido, but it's not going to have an angle, and that's just Jesters. Yes, they lose the dragon, but they've already got the first one, and they'll pick up 2 kills, and with those members dead, they can start to maybe look at a mid lane turret, or in fact, just rotate out of here and maybe focus on other parts of the map.
Yeah, playing's not down yet, so they're not going to be able to pick up too much more, especially because of their wave states. Now, Nap had the first rotate down on bot side to make sure this wave got shoved in, so really no place to play for here. But really, wow, I mean, Kassin going for this steal here, very eager to find that, but you know, Eno's Mega Gnar, so really the worst point where you want to be engaging and gets aptly punished there. That Mega Gnar ulti in combination with the Cataclysm was a fantastic initial fight tool, and you can see CJ, when they lose those first members, it's really hard for them to find follow-up, and so 2 for 0. They do lose the second Drake as mentioned, but remember, as you said, first Drake was already picked up by them, so net even on Drakes. And now we see the Soul form, and Jace once again going to be entering our Summoner's Rift as they're looking for a pick on hybrid. Not really going to mean much as the Dark Passage.
That's the one. Absolutely. If you remember, there was that of the old school, I think it was a Turkish team, wasn't it? It was Dark Passage from there. That, of course, used to be at pretty much every international event back in the 2015-16 era. But yes, it is the Dark Passage, otherwise known as the Lantern to the layman. I just like using the official names because I'm a play-by-play and it makes me feel special.
I like it too, but the problem is I stumble over my words. As you've already noticed, I stumble over my words. And it means that sometimes I will, instead of saying Dark Passage, I'll say Park Passage. Or I'll forget it entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or stab my pads, you know, like, okay.
Please don't stab my pants. That's very special to me.
Please leave them alone. What do they do to you?
And that's Rascal Jester.
The infamous LJL pad stabber.
That's where I keep all my stabs. It's Rascal Jester, after picking up three more kills over CGA, they've got 2k gold lead, and they've actually used that to create a rather nice vision line. Are you seeing this across the river? Look at that vision. It's very nice, and this should also lead into the second Herald as well. Not Shirley this time, not Shelly. And now the plates have fallen, could be a very quick tool to pick up this mid lane tier 1 and start to open up the map a little bit.
Absolutely, and with no turrets having yet fallen, actually, despite being 15 minutes into the game, not really had the opportunity to do so yet. There's been some plates that have gone down, obviously, but no full structures either taken down by themselves or in trade. This Herald should likely be able to do it. Now with the platings fallen, though, Sol's going to look to try and start that one up as over the wall goes Secret, but that's very aggressive. And he's going to take a lot of damage here from Crescendum Severus.
He's a tanky boy.
That's about to come down. Wait for the Chakras to come out. There's the Death Centers coming through, but Hatchemetcha's around. He's on a wall, though. You can see that's over the wall, and that's a very sensible use of vision there to spot out potential dives. I know on this bot side as well, just aware there might be some pressure sides. I'm just going to take the Krugs. I don't want to walk up towards the river where I'll be overextending. But Hybrid, Nemo, forced away from the tower by the attention of Rascal Jester's jungle and bot lane. Will allow first turret to go towards Rascal Jesters, who have now kind of, with a couple of those kills and with some of that early structure money, managed to get themselves up about a 2.5 to 3,000 gold lead here in these mid-game portions of the game, which is great news for the Jesters, who have sometimes been put apart a little in the early game to try and fight their way back at points, especially when we've seen bot lane contests. But Sol and Secret on rare form, up a lot of gold here. You can see that's a lot of where the advantages are between the mid and bot lanes, which is exactly what you want if you're a Jesters fan.
And honestly, one of the interesting things to see is that Rascal Jesters are opted into a 4 or a 5-man red trinket. I can't tell because Hatchemetch is currently sitting on the Herald at the moment. So even through that first turret as well, they haven't used the Herald yet, which is another thing to add to. But yeah, Herald's red trinkets across the board, and they've been using this to reduce CGA's vision to a matter of atoms and have managed to sequester all sides. You can see even as CGA build this back up again, as soon as this wave gets shoved in, especially with Eno having so much pressure on the top side, Kaito's going to have to rotate into this, and this means the number advantage is around this mid lane just before Drake spawning. So we could see some dual goals spawn. As they have the Herald as well, they can use it to force mid lane turret. In the meantime, Eno is pressuring up this side lane turret with TB available and the Drake is on spawn. How are they going to handle all of these objectives? CJ, look for the third Drake.
Okay. So the top lane tower will not quite fall yet. Dragon started up, but the vision control you called for with this comp, especially all the pick they want to be playing with the advantage with the setup, but they're just going to be forced away from the Dragon. Herald in mid takes a lot of the damage, or a lot of the health of that structure down as well. And Rascal Jester's come away from everything. They're going to throw down the flame tops, won't quite be able to secure the tower with it on top. And that top lane tower is a breath, an auto or two away from falling. And I need to see some proactivity from CGA, or they're in danger of being monumentally far behind, like to the point where it's not even playable anymore.
And I really want to see Kaito get out of this top lane, get him through mid or bot side if you can, and get Nat back into that matchup purely to limit Eno in this split push, as well as get Kaito in a position where they can affect these fights. Because Scatter the Weak is one of their key pick tools for this mid game, right? We want the Syndra with the Ludens being picked up, with all this burst damage coming through the Unleashed Power. They want them to pair up with Nema and Kassin and really get opportunities to find individual picks. You know, set up your vision, wait for Rascal Jester, as they have been doing so far, to try and take that vision back again and look for the pick. And instead, Kaito's locked up inside lane a little bit, and I think it is really hurting CGA's proactivity.
I've got to call it out though. It's already triple Mercury treads. You've got a Tahm Kench Devour. When you've got a front line like the Meganar and the Jarvan and the Tahm Kench in front of you as well, I don't know how easy the picks are even to pull off at this point. I don't know whether it might already be a little too late. You've already got the Tenacity, you've already got the Magic Resist, you've already trying to deal with you know, the Devourer as well, if that's kept for Sol in particular, who's a big part of the consistent DPS. It's going to be incredibly difficult to make those picks happen. And
so then
you add in, you've nearly got a Locket coming through. Like, well, what do you do after that one as well?
Yeah, we're really going to be looking towards Hybrid and Kaito and see how they itemize to nullify or increase their DPS points. Because, yeah, with these mercs coming in, CC chaining is going to be so important for CJ to find the correct fight. So not only do these players need to be on board with each other, but you also need these carries to really get in damage points where they can pick off maybe some of the tankier members of Rascal Jester.
Absolutely. And of course, Aphelios, Gwen, very good scalers. Syndra in the late game, I don't care whether it's not going to CC you for that long. She can still 100 to Z you with a level 16 ultimate or whatever. There's enough squishy members to make that happen. But at the moment, I know definitely winning out in terms of the pressure on the side and with the hull breaker nearly it's something like a stride breaker in the mid lane. We're going to engage Matcha, but the Cataclysm through. Going to get Devoured back out, but it's a flash forward.
Fantastic.
It's a 2-for-1 special. And that will be the kill for Hybrid. Going to try and turn it around on a Kassin. The Ignite not quite enough. And that will be a solid flash from Nemo to block the super mega death rocket as well. They get the pick. They had to burn some summoners to do it, but they get out alive, and it's an important kill onto Hybrid.
Yeah, but the problem is, what are they actually going to get from this? A fantastic pick up there. Really, really well played, but only leads to a single kill. And now 2 players are recalled, which means Rascal Jester had the priority and they pick up the mid lane tier 1. So even when a fight goes in the favor of CJ, it immediately gets pushed back against them. Rascal Jester pick up mid lane tier 1. This is going to really help with how Rascal Jester expand their vision. As soon as this mid lane tier 1 gets picked up, you're going to see this vision line move ever forward as all 3 tier 1s are now gone now. And directly you're thinking, okay, well, Dragon the next objective, but also Baron spawn. And we're seeing quite a heavy DPS point for Rascal Jester. And you see this fight play out here. Now, Cataclysm comes in and Nema immediately using that to prioritize out as Tom Kench picks it up. Kassin's really quick, get the kick in immediately to kick not 1 but 2 members into his team. And even when Hachimecha tries to escape there, the Moonlight Vigil does a fantastic job of making sure that doesn't happen.
No, it does not, and he does fall. Horizon Focus, second here from Ari, by the way. Not quite as common, but of course you can activate it by using both your charm and of course the active from Everfrost. So you have got multiple ways to make that happen, which does mean to lead to the increased damage. So not a bad pick, just not necessarily your most standard. I don't know, Showmaker's done it before if I recall correctly. So interesting option. Of course, Kaito has gone towards the early blighting jewel, which makes a lot of sense considering all the magic resist that is being built up right now by Rascal Jester, as we called out earlier.
Especially with those CDR boots, he really needs to hit a good penetration point early on. I don't know if that Shadow Flame would be quite enough to really burst out some of the Mercury Tread, some of the tankier members of Rascal Jester, as Kassin has dashed forward very aggressively with the safeguard, and now we're seeing a bit of a standoff as next Drake is under a minute now. But look at these lanes assignments right now. Rascal Jester have 3 waves shoved in. They're setting themselves perfectly up for this Drake, as even through CGA taking an initial grasp on this Drake control, look at how much golden XP they're bleeding in these side lanes.
They are, and now with that 5-man sweeper setup as well, they want to fight for this vision control, but CGA already in the river, already starting the Drake. It's not going to make as much difference at this point. Look at Nap is on the flank. It's not the best flanking champion, of course, but if you can get into the fight, once that CC is burned, you can make it happen. Can Kassin make another steal happen? 2 dragons for us, which would be so point. It's a big stun onto Hachimecha, forces Kassin to go back out. They get the dragon, they've caused by keeping Hachimecha away, and with the HP bars so low from Sol in particular, they're going to have to run away. No dragon to their name, and CGA win the war in the river. Dragon in hand for them.
Very honestly a big win for them. They knew that Rascal Jester were in the perfect position to fight. We mentioned the side lanes, and in turn what they do is they use that Dragon's Rage to disengage Hachimecha right as the dragon falls below that smite range. Really, really smart. Pick up the Drake basically for free, and this is going to give them you know, at least opportunity to maybe look towards Soul Point in 10 minutes time.
I really love the mechanics actually from Kassin there, where he basically throws the Q1, that Sonic Wave, at the dragon, then Ward Hop kicks Hachimecha away, and then takes the return Q back towards the dragon to make sure he's back in dragon in time, which is like really good way of getting as much distance between the dragon and the jungler responsible.
No, it's something we see a lot around. We see it a lot around Baron, right? But nobody ever really sees it around Dragon. Very smart coming out from Kassin there to confirm that objective. Now this mid lane, now that all these tier 1s are gone, we're seeing Rascal Jester. We saw it almost there with Drake. They were really trying to sort out that vision. They're going to continue to do so on this top side. We see every single wave shove. You can see already. Look at the vision that they planted in that top side. That's going to continue to extend every time they find these wave shots, especially now that finally the mythic gets picked up by Eno. We see that that mythic come in. Hullbreaker combined means a lot of side lane pressure against like Gwen. However,
Nap is... Yeah. He just picked up 2 items. That's a bit of a strong point for a Gwen, generally speaking.
I think Gwen's it scales pretty well. Pretty good scale, no?
Generally speaking, yeah. No, I've never doubted Gwen's ability to...
Small amount of true damage. Just a small amount. Nothing too unbalanced.
Look,
really wanted that red buff.
I am a Gwen enjoyer, but death by 1,000 cuts is perhaps a lie because it's more like a million because she like turns her scissors into like a chainsaw as Kassin chased out of his jungle here, and the vision control game continuing. And like again, called out just before that the dragonfly. Yes, it is 5 of Oracle's lenses. That's basically saying you will not have vision control. They were a little bit slow on taking control of the river before that last dragon. It cost them a soul point. It cost them an early win condition there. Does mean that we're in this mid-game state where, yes, it's still a 2,000 to 3,000 gold lead for Rascal Jester, but it hasn't really grown since I said that 10 minutes ago.
Eden, I mean, we are seeing different scaling points for each team, right? And we mentioned the Gwen immediately, 1 million needle threads or whatever you want to talk about that champion, but Jinx also could be coming in very hot. Second item now, 2 components of the IE as well, so we know what he's going to be opting towards. This can be a big point for Rascal Jester to start really forcing fights, because then suddenly any pick onto CGA can lead into Jinx getting excited and looking for those follow-up kills. Remember, recap on the Ahri, this champion's specifically good at finding a single kill and converting that into many, many more.
Absolutely, and with this build in particular, you are all about making sure the pick causes as much damage as you can. You don't have the damage amp on your E anymore, but you do with Horizon Focus. It means you need to land the CC or have someone land it for you. Side lane pressure, though, currently in Rascal Jester's favor. You can see the way they're playing this. Ino and Recap have generally had the push in those side lanes, at least for now. That might change as the game goes on. That top lane tier 2 still standing all these minutes later. It's literally still so close to falling, and CJ have at least for now held on to it. Got about a minute just over until our next dragon, so we do need to check in on some of those items, because I'm looking at Jinx's inventory, Oak, and I'm seeing a very large golden sword that's just come through for the Mad Cannon from Piltover/Sword.
This is a big spike for every AD. Everybody loves to hit this point, and we're seeing actually Hybrid has yet to hit that point. So it's a big point for, I've said point 5 times, big turning angle for Rascal Jester. What am I saying? To maybe look for a fight.
He's got a small turning circle. He's like a giant truck. It's not got a great turning circle.
We're not playing Dota, guys. We're not playing Dota. There's no turning circles, okay? I just don't know what I'm saying. He's been picked up by Jinx.
I know he's a carry. And therefore he's probably driving something like a truck to fit everybody in the back of it. But that's no excuse to talk about the turning circles. That is an unusual tangent even for me. And I've used that like. You know, people take me to Pangea as a reference in League of Legends, so you know, like this isn't the DVLA, mate. We're not here to talk about driving license, but that's the kick down 10 seconds before the Ocean Drake, and it was a burned flag and drag that Kassin couldn't quite get behind. So Dragon's Rage down, big engage option is Sol. So use the rapid fire cannon those rockets to be as noxious as possible from as far away as possible. Vision control beginning to be Rascal Jester's favorite, as they are the ones in the river first this time. They are the ones with all the ward denial in the world. CGA on the top side of the river, though, do land a decent hit onto Sol. Need to get away. He's got a stopwatch for Hatchemecha, but the turnaround is there. Going back in, the Cataclysm is down, but it's a 1-for-1 right now, but the jungler is dead. There is no smite. Can Ino get his way towards Mega? Can they find the re-engage? Because with the jungler dead, there's no real smite option. Ino, for a flash, forces so many flashes in trade. They get the kill onto Never. The resets can start coming through, but look at the amount of chakrams on Hybrid. He's turning into a buzzsaw, into a blender. Can he find anything more? But no, can't happen. Ino on very low HP, but they force CGA out of the river. Kassin is not around, and you can't see him. He's going over towards the Baron. That means this will be soul point. They don't want to flip, even if they have the smite advantage, and Rascal Jester's come out on top.
Some very clean mechanics coming out there from Rascal Jester to make sure that was ultimately a 2-for-1. And whilst you're doing this, keep eyes on Sol here, because Scatter the Week comes out and CGI immediately think that's the pick that comes off. But Secret is so quick with the ultimate to make sure. And then look at the damage Sol is pumping out here. Absolutely shredding this hallowed mistless Gwen here, and as the fight continues, you can see Sol basically just playing clean-up point, and then finally Eno with the fantastic Gnar to pick off the second kill, and this means that all of those initial picks from CJ, other than Scatterweek, are completely gone. Kasin's still not with the Dragon's Rage, meaning no response here, and they have to walk out and respect this Drake, and Sol gets picked up by Rascal Jester. A very, very big win now, as they have 2 win conditions to look towards, and so the Jinx is just getting ever stronger.
Yes, she is, and when you blow both the AD carry and the... I'm not sure who, somebody else's flash there as well, I want to say. I thought it was Kaito's, but that's back off cooldown, so I'm not quite sure who else's flash was burned, but they...
thank you. I think they burned 3, because Nemo, Hybrids, and Kasin's flashes are all on the same timer.
Basically, exactly that. In that case, I know, with the 3-for-1 trade there, getting a lot of value out of it, and come to that next big objective fight. I mean, Baron is alive. You could even start looking for it now, all honesty, and especially with that vision denial strategy that we've seen for Jesters working out very well for them right now. You hit the issue where walking in is going to be a very bad time because you've not got very much safety really. I mean, yes, you've got a Dark Passage, but I just don't think with the CC chest, with the amount of damage at this point of the game, that you get to use it bluntly.
I just want to talk about some really good itemization that's come out from Hachimecha. So Tabai, Gore Drinker, Tabai, and then a Force of Nature. Now, this item saw recent buffs to increase its damage reduction once you hit those full stacks and spell hits. So you get 25% damage reduction now, if I believe, on spells. If you don't get me, if I'm doing, maybe I'm saying it wrong, Twitch chat, call me out. And this means that, you know, a lot of spells are going to be going this way. Specifically, the Syndra and the Gwen are going to be pumping out a load of different spell rotations. This means he's going to hit those stacks very quickly and knock down a lot of Kaito's potential damage output in these fights, and it's really going to limit how much effectiveness he has to disengage Hachimecha and Eno as well, who's also picked up the item from diving their backline, and really sets up Rascal Jester to find quick fights to better benefit Sol, to get excited.
And he has been performing exceptionally thus far. 203, got the early plate. Yes, like the CS is pretty even, the kills are pretty even, but the gold so much in favor of Sol right now. Here was that item ahead of that last fight. That was a really big deal. You've seen Hybrid has completed his Infinity Edge now, so he is online himself, and problem is that might have been a little bit too little, a little bit too late. There's a Zhonya's now in Ferrari who's also picked up an Oblivion Orb to try and cut through some of the healing that's going to be coming through from Lee Sin, Hybrid, etc. Gwen especially as well, actually, for that matter, with the Riftmaker, nearly at a death cap. But if you can get Gwen to death cap, if you can get a third item onto Kaito, maybe fights around that Sol, maybe fights around that Baron look a little different with those items in your inventory bolstering your damage.
And interestingly, from Kaito, we're seeing a couple of things picked up. So Needless, as well as an amp time, maybe leading towards a Shadow Flame third. But on top of that, also a stopwatch inventory. So either the Shadow Flame, a Zhonya's, or potentially even a Rabadon's, all being slotted into his kit over the next 10 minutes or so, if the game lasts that long. And mostly of that is through Rascal Jester now, as we can finally see, a lot of gold on both AD carries, but the real meat of that gold lead is through Rascal Jester's remaining players. Whilst a 1k gold lead come through Sol, the remaining players pick up that slack of that 3k gold lead and a 4k gold lead even.
Oh, yeah, and, absolutely.
And Drake spawning in under a minute now. We're seeing 4 items finally picked up for Jinx, and also 4 items in Hybrid. So both AD carries in perfect position. 3 items actually on the top laners as well, and CJ are feeling it right now. Big items picked up by Nap as Charm lands.
That is a very large hat coming in for Gwen. Gonna see whether it'll provide the damage required if Nap can make the plays around this dragon happen. It will be a massive swing. They want to prevent Sol. They want to get a Sol point themselves. They currently hold court in the river, and it is a Rabadon's death cap, not the crown with the Ornn in, but it's still feeling very regal right now for the members of CG. It's a massive amount of damage from Sol, who chunks out 2 people before this critical fight. They're going to have to back away, and all that position they had, it's lost.
Kassin now can regenerate some of that HP through his jungle camps, but Kaito has lost that for this fight, and the Drake's being taken so quickly.
He's been rooted. The knockaway with the Mega now. That means Ocean Soul is secured for Rascal Jester. The fight now commences. Hachimecha locks down 2 in the back, and it's already 2 dead in 2 more, with Soul picking them up. He's looking for even more. He's named after the sun, and he is burning with the fury of 1,000 of them, or at least the gold pieces. He had that much lead before it all. He'll get an ace to bolster that one as well. The gold lead will extend, and it's just lights out, sunset for CGA.
CGA committed to that fight even after the Drake was taken, so a clean ace comes in. Now this is definitely going to be in here for Rascal Jester. The question is now, how much more can they take? We're seeing death timers for 5 seconds on AD carry, on support and jungle, and 20 on their carries. Can they keep pushing?
They've got the wave, they've got 5 members. It's Nemo alone, alive, hybrid in 5. You're looking at Kassin now up, but the Nexus is bare. The Nexus is down, and Rascal Jesters cut Crest